Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the WVU Alumni webinar series. Tonight, we'll be asking Dr. Darrell Donahue 5 big questions about his experience and his perspective as the Dean of the Davis College of Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Design here at WVU. Before joining the team at WVU, Dean Donahue was the director of the Institute of Water Research and chair of Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering at Michigan State University. He served as the vice president of operations and the research director at the Maine Maritime Academy, and as a professor of chemical engineering at the Forest Byproducts Research Institute at the University of Maine. Dean Donahue currently serves as a member of the United Nations International Commission on the Microbiological Specifications for Foods and as an expert on the panels in food safety and defense. He continues to consult with federal government agencies in the area of risk assessment and its evaluation. With this extensive background, we are so grateful to have his leadership here at WVU. Dean Donahue, hello.
Hi, Meredith. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for making time for us tonight. As the first guest in our new 5-question series, I will be presenting you with 5 big questions tonight to answer for our audience, followed then by a round of rapid-fire questions for us all to get to know you a little bit better. And if time allows, we'll have a few moments for some questions and answers with our audience. How does that sound?
Sure, but why don't you just call me Darrell, please?
All right, Darrell. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the audience that if you have a question and that you would like to ask, be sure to drop that in the comment section, and we will include that at the end when we ask Darrell some questions after the program. So if it's okay with you, Darrell, let's get started.
Let's go at it.
All right. So before you came on screen, I gave the audience a sneak preview of some of the accomplishments that you have made on your path to WVU. But I think everyone would like to hear a little bit more about your personal and professional journey that led you to becoming the Dean of the Davis College at West Virginia University.
Well, Meredith, I'll try. It's been a long journey. I started out, I grew up in North Carolina, sort of in the central western part of North Carolina. I grew up in an area, a very rural area, a bunch of farms around us. We had our farm was a tobacco and dairy farm there. And like many young people at that time, when I went to school, and I went to school at NC State, I wanted to get away from the farm. So I did. I got as far away as I could, but I got my degree in engineering. And I went out and worked for a few years for one of the companies in North Carolina. So I sort of stayed at home. And then I got kind of thinking about maybe going back to school. And so I went back to my alma mater, NC State, and I got a degree in operations research and engineering. And that's sort of big words to just talk about a lot of math, basically. But and then after I finished my PhD, I had sort of a goal in my mind to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I hiked the Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia, and did a lot of thinking during that time, and came back and did some work for myself. Went to work for NC State for a while doing computer programming and stuff. And then I ended my hike in Maine, and I went by the University of Maine campus. And it was a beautiful fall day when I went by there on my trip home. And I thought, if there's ever a job here, I'll apply. Well, a couple of years out after my trail experience, there was a job at University of Maine in chemical engineering. So I applied, I got the job, and I was there for 17 years in chemical engineering and working, actually still working. I got away from agriculture, but back to it because I was still working with food and forest and things like that. And, you know, progressed up through, worked in about forestry and things, those type things. And then Maine Maritime Academy came calling, and they needed someone to start their research program, their extramural research program for their faculty. And so I went to Maine Maritime Academy, which was maybe an hour and a half away from University of Maine, started their faculty research program. And about 9 months into that, we were doing pretty good. And the vice president of operations, senior vice president, stepped down to retire. And the president asked me to become the vice president of operations. So I did both of those jobs for a while. And then I'd kind of gotten away from sort of my agricultural roots a little bit at that point in time. And Michigan State came calling. and had this opportunity for me to go there. So I went to Michigan State in 2015 and spent some time there doing work in water research, but also in biological and agricultural engineering, focused on foods and fiber and everything in between. And then lo and behold, West Virginia University came calling. And I knew about the Davis College. I had a colleague that I worked with on the National Academies panel. At the time was from the Davis College back in the early 2000s. And so I was interested in it. And once I got delved into it a little bit more and talked to various people on campus, and when I actually got to tour the campus, I was sold. And they convinced me to come away from Michigan State back towards home and here in Mountaineer country. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, after all of that, I'm really glad that you landed here at WVU. But I must say, the only place I've been that has some autumns comparable to West Virginia is an autumn in Maine. So I can't blame you for spending so many years up there. It's so beautiful in the autumn.
It certainly is, yeah.
So tell us, what are the most rewarding and exciting aspects of leading the Davis College to you?
Well, you know that I haven't been here just a few months into the pandemic, but I would say, as I think about it, the first thing really is the faculty, staff, and students. We're in this weird place right now, and I'm seeing everybody in two dimensions, like you and I are having tonight. But the faculty, staff, and students seem to be interested in learning new things, and even taking my weird ideas, some cases, to how I think Davis could be a better place and make it more central to WVU's land grant mission. So I think those people first. Secondly, I would say the Dean's College. We actually are my colleagues and the deans. We meet usually a couple times a week, talk about COVID things and then talk about other things going on the campus. And I've really been appreciative of all the deans' willingness to step out and help me. And I've been able to call them up or email them about something like, how does this work? How should we do this? Can we work together on this? And then finally, I would say Provost Reed and President Gee. They check in on me almost weekly, see how I'm doing with a phone call, email, text message, whatever. And I know that they're there for me if I need to reach out to them and ask how to do something. They're there to help me.
Well, as you know, in a typical year, we're traveling the country to talk to Mountaineers, and they always tell us that their favorite part about WVU is the people. So it doesn't surprise me that has been a rewarding part of your experience here, and I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's been very good, very good. Everybody's been helpful and nice and just go out of their way to help me.
Well, that's what Mountaineers do, right?
That's right.
So this year, we know, has brought with it a lot of unexpected changes in the way that we live, in the way that we work, the way that we teach and engage. Could you tell us about some of the challenges and opportunities faced by the Davis College, and what that's looked like throughout the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, you may know that Davis College is a pretty hands-on college. We do many of our things are in labs or out on the farms, out in the fields, in the forest, and so forth. And the transition from going sort of being in person and hands-on to going virtual in many cases, trying to teach a forest lab through Zoom, very difficult, challenging both for the faculty but also for the students. My first couple months here, I'd walk through the halls in the building, and I'd say to a student, "How's it going?" He said, "Can't wait to get back out in the lab or back out in the field." So that's been really tough. And I think one of the things I've had to worry about, we not only have faculty, staff, and students to worry about, but we also have plants, we have animals out in our farms and in our forest and in our greenhouse, and they keep growing and they have to keep being fed and stuff. And so we had to work really hard to get those people fed in a safe manner and changing shifts and stuff like that. But we've also had some good opportunities. One of the opportunities, I think actually before I came here, but some of the folks in the design portion of our college in that school I actually figured out that they could make masks, and they worked with colleagues in the health sciences area and some other colleges to go out and make masks, make PPE, and do a lot of other things. We had one of our colleagues that actually figured out, who was in the forestry and wood science area, figured out that we might be able to even make masks and mask filters out of wood. And that's kind of cool. Had to work with a whole bunch of people across many colleges to get that happen, but it was really good. And we actually have a couple of our alumni that work for the Food and Drug Administration and at Pfizer, and they've been involved a lot as we moved into the development of the vaccines and the rollout of vaccines. They've been really involved in that. And I think one of your alumni talks in March is going to be Jamie Shirey, who works at Pfizer, and they're going to talk about what they were doing there.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to sit down to talk with him about how his experience at WVU and his career path led him then to work for Pfizer, become a vice president, and help to bring this vaccine in a safe way to people around the globe. So we're excited about that conversation. And we actually have another one coming up in a couple weeks with some folks in the fashion and textiles industries about their experience and kind of how their careers have pivoted in the wake of COVID, but many of whom now work in that industry and have had experiences in the Davis College. So
yeah,
you have lots of alums who are doing great things.
Yeah, we've had challenges, but these challenges have presented opportunities that we've been able to take advantage of and help people.
Well, and we're certainly grateful for a lot of these conversations that we've been able to have virtually, right? To be able to sit down with Jamie in a couple weeks to talk about this vaccine, we're really excited about. So, thinking about the future, what opportunities do you see for new or continued collaboration with other colleges and units within WVU and the Davis College?
Well, I suppose one of the biggest partnerships that I saw was actually I got connected to Greg Corio in the Outdoor Economic Development Collaborative, and Greg actually talked to me before I got to Morgantown, before I left Michigan State, and I'm very interested in what they're trying to do. The whole idea behind the Outdoor Collaborative, and then also working on trails, mountain biking trails, and various types of things, getting people outside, which I think is good. So we actually have partnered with them on a couple of the things. We have shared some cost of a new staff member they have, and we're going to be working in developing curriculum and biking trails with them in conjunction with some of our students and faculty. And I think that's going to be fun. I think as I've learned who people are, working with across a number of colleges, Statler, we already do a lot of work with, Eberly, the HSC, Chambers College, Extension College. I think there are many opportunities that we have already working with those colleges, but I think having more wide-ranging opportunities will be a good thing. One example is the Chambers College, myself, and the Statler College have been working initially with some of the folks that are bringing Virgin Hyperloop to West Virginia, and seeing how we can get faculty, staff, and students involved in that project, because that's going to be a great project. A lot of things to learn on both sides of the equation, so I think it'd be good. And I think one of the things I'd like to bring to this, and I see really good capabilities in Davis College and WVU more broadly, is working internationally. I have some international experience, and at Michigan State, they were known for a lot of international work. And I really feel like that some of the work that we do in the Davis College particularly, but other places as well, would be would be good for places in Central Africa, Southeast Asia. I think things that we do and working on in our research and our development now could actually help the rest of the world. And you might know of the 2050 challenge that we have of trying to feed the world population in 2050. And we call that feeding the world sustainably. And I think what we do at WVU could fit right into that. And so I want to see us move more into the international scene. And I think all of these opportunities that I mentioned would kind of bring us more in focus, and in focus like President Gee in his book, I think it's called The Land-Grant Universities of the Future, where he talks about how we should really have higher education for the public good. And I think extending that internationally is really the right thing to do.
This is very exciting. I feel like there are probably lots of alumni who are listening to this right now who are going to be reaching out to figure out how they can get more involved.
We would love to have them.
Yes. Yes. So for our last big question of the night, could you tell us what you think makes the Davis College unique?
Well, that's hard to maybe say, but I'll take a stab at it. And I think from coming here from different institutions I've been, I think the breadth and the approach that the faculty and staff and students have in this college, I think it's, they across the sectors of agriculture, natural resources, design, community development, across that, they touch every aspect of the lives in West Virginia, in our region, in our country, and truly internationally, as I mentioned a minute ago. And I think, Davis College, or the College of Agriculture, was a founding college of WVU back in 1867 as a land-grant university. And we do the essential things to keep life sustained: food, shelter, clothing. And that is central to what Maslow talked about in his hierarchy of needs. And I think we're very central to providing people with their needs, their basic needs, so they can move on to higher needs. So that's what I think is neat about. Not unique, but neat.
I love that. And I feel like it means so much more coming from someone who has had lots of experience at several land grant institutions. Mm-hmm. It's clear that land grant mission is very important and central to your work. So before, I hope President Gee has heard us mention tonight the land grant mission so often. So before we move on to the rapid fire questions, I want to remind the audience to share any questions that you might have in the comment section below. And Darrell, I'm going to ask you 10 very important questions that you will have to answer as quickly as you can. So are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. First one. What are you currently reading?
Well, actually, I'm currently reading Becoming Nicole. And that's a book about a young man who became a woman, transgendered. And the reason I'm reading that right now is one of my friends is the father of that young woman. And he actually is a Davis alumni. And so I've got connected back to him. And we talked about that book. We were both at University of Maine together, and I saw him go through that as a father, and it was a very tough time for him. And we just got reconnected back during the holidays. And so he told me about the book, and so that's what I'm currently reading. But I typically read kind of crime novels, but I'm taking a break and reading this one because I think it's really good.
Becoming Nicole was one of the first books that I read during a class I took here at WVU.
Oh.
When I first came to Morgantown. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah. Cool.
I love that. We have lots to talk about. Okay. So number 2, what is your favorite meal?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say this, because all of the people in Davis College know this. I walk down the hill to Chick-fil-A. And I could walk down there, get my sandwich curbside, and walk back up to my office and eat it. So Chick-fil-A is my go-to meal.
Got to have the Chick-fil-A sauce. What's your favorite spot on WVU's campus?
Well, I haven't been around to a lot of it yet. I've enjoyed coming down into the downtown campus, but I'll have to admit that I think as I climb back up the hill to the Evansdale campus and turn onto the Evansdale campus and go by engineering and around the corner to ag sciences, I think that's my favorite place.
What is something interesting that you've recently learned?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I would say I've learned a lot about myself in the last 6 months. So recently, to me, this last 6 months, I've learned about how I can motivate myself when I have to be remote. And that's been a big challenge because I always got my energy from being around people, and having energy when you're remote is very difficult. So I've learned a little bit how to deal with that.
Yes. I feel like we have all been there this year. What do you like to do when you're not working?
Well, I actually do a lot of hiking with my dog. I'm very much of a dog person, and she loves. In fact, she was waiting at the door a minute ago before we started, because we usually go about this time of night. We go out on a walk in the dark, and she's missing that tonight. So I'll make that up to her tomorrow night. But so I spend a lot of time. I spend about an hour and a half a day walking my dog. So I enjoy that.
What your favorite WVU tradition?
Gosh, I haven't seen many traditions, but I'm both a football and basketball fan, and I have to say my wife and I have enjoyed the games, but particularly we've enjoyed Hugs because he's one of my favorite coaches from a long time ago. So watching WVU basketball on TV, but I hope I can get there someday in person soon.
Yes. Yes. What is a song that you can listen to on repeat?
Well, I'm a country music lover. I have been all my life. And I think Blake and Gwen's song, which I can't think of the name of it now, but it's a recent song, last 3 or 4 months, is really the one that I would like to listen to, because I think that's a really neat song. And if I could sing, I would sing it to my wife, but I can't sing. So I point to it.
That's okay. That's why we have Spotify.
Right.
What is one thing you just cannot live without?
Hiking. I have to walk. I love being outside. Outside is, I don't think I could ever live in New York City or anything like that, because I want to be outside and I want to see the mountains. And so I love that.
I am right there with you. What one thing you wish that you had known when you were in college?
What the answers to the test were? Oh, no. I wish I had known that I struggled to do really well in school, and I'm not sure if I'm now looking back on that, if it was all that important, because I could have done pretty well and enjoyed myself a little bit more. So
yes, if only we had known that then.
right.
And I have the last rapid fire question for you tonight. What does it mean to you to be a Mountaineer?
It means respect, setting example, and loyalty. So that's the 3 things I would say.
Thank you. This was excellent. Thank you for agreeing to do some rapid fire questions. I know there have been lots of people who want to get to know you a little bit better and haven't had a chance to meet you in person this year. So I know we have a few questions already from the audience. I want to ask those questions as we start to feed them sterile. But so first question from the audience tonight. What was your favorite spot on the Appalachian Trail?
I would have to say, without a doubt, Rome Mountain. And I would say the reason for that is I did a lot of hiking of that as I've grown up hiking the Appalachian Trail, but hiking around there and my practice hikes for getting ready for the trail. But that's a beautiful area, I think, Rome Mountain.
Everyone is at home adding that to their list right now. All right, next question from the audience. Are there any plans to incorporate any precision agriculture research into the curriculum?
Yeah, we're actually looking, the plant sciences folks are looking into that, how they might bring that into the curriculum, maybe looking at it on a smaller scale. And we actually, I should say that we already do some. We do a lot of drone work right now. And so we've gotten involved with that with the Natural Resources Analysis Center. And so they do what most people would be calling precision agriculture, but they do it on a wide range of things in natural resources and stuff. And so I think we'll be getting involved more in that, but certainly do some now.
All right. I was not familiar with what precision agriculture research was until right now. So thank you for sharing that. So what is WVU currently doing to assist, help, and guide startup aquaculture operations and food processing in West Virginia?
We, to my knowledge, we don't have a lot of work going on aquaculture operations. The Department of Agriculture may have, but I don't think we have any within the Davis College. But we have we've started working with a couple. We've started working with a couple sort of what I would call mom and pop startup operations to help them with their food safety, address some of the food safety concerns. And we also have been working with a firm that's going to move their operations to West Virginia. It's a larger food processing operation, and we've been working with them in terms of site selection and equipment selection, those kinds of things.
This is very exciting.
Some great opportunities for our students in internships and jobs.
Yes. It sounds like we keep getting some really great questions from the audience. So please keep submitting these. They have lots of agricultural research terms in them, as we learned. So if you're up for more questions, we have some more.
Let's do it.
All right. Next up, what are the plans for the farms on Stewartstown Road?
I'm not sure. We will continue with those farms. I'm not sure what that question means, but we've been looking at trying to. Since I've been here, at least I've challenged the folks to look at ways to broaden the efforts that go on there, to branch out more into the other colleges because I think we have colleagues in other colleges that can gain a lot from having a place at one of the farms, one of the local farms. It's easier for students to get to and that kind of thing. So I think we have no plans of doing anything except increasing their use, I hope.
Well, this is exciting. That was not my question, but this is exciting news for me because I drive past the farms on Stewartstown Road every day on my way to work. And I am known for coming in and saying, giving everyone a report about the baby animals that have been seen, especially when there are baby lambs out there. So
yeah. It's about this time of year, I think, too.
Yeah. Well, the other day there were lots of baby deer out there in the snow, which is exciting, but not as exciting as the baby lambs. All right. Next question from the audience. What has been the most surprising aspect of coming to work here at WVU? Well,
I get the impression, and I think it's true, that it's a pretty flat organization. So if like I've been able to work with the deans of other colleges pretty easily, but I'd also, as a faculty member, I think if you were here as a faculty member, it would be easy just to reach out to somebody in HSC or somebody, in the Eberly College and get to work. And I think, sometimes as colleges get larger, and universities get larger, that tends to go away, that ability to pick up the phone and call somebody and work with them. But I think it's pretty good here. And that's a surprise to me because it is a larger university.
It is. And, President Gee talks a lot about wanting to maintain that collaborative structure. I know that's very important to him. So yeah. Next question, speaking of President Gee, why are you drawn to land grant universities especially?
Well, Meredith, that's a tough question because I have a 50-minute lecture and an hour and 15-minute lectures on land grants. I used to give a land grant lecture to all the students in engineering because everybody wanted me to give it because nobody else knew the reason. The land grant philosophy, in my mind, is the reason that I can go to school. I'm a first-generation student from many generations of farmers, And, I suppose I didn't even think about going anywhere but NC State because that was a land grant in North Carolina. And I think it's crucial that we do what the land grant mission that was written in 1862 says, is to educate the people of the land, which are the farmers, the miners, whatever it might be, and engage them in education. And it's truly the reason I'm here today. I have, as you know, I've been to other universities, but if you look at my resume, you see I've always been at a land grant. My wife asked me, why don't you apply for so-and-so job? And I said, it's not a land grant. I'm going to go there. So I believe in that mission. But
I'm glad.
I can give you the hour and 15-minute talk if you want.
You and I share this in common because I'm also a product of 3 land grant institutions. And I too have a couple of those lectures in my back pocket that no one ever seems to ask for, but I have them and I'm always excited to share.
We should get together and tell each other the lectures because nobody wants to hear ours.
We should. We'll call Dr. Nate Sorber, the WVU land grant expert, and we will have a great time.
That's right.
So we have just 2 more audience questions for you. What are your plans for WVU's involvement in the global agricultural food security?
I'm not too familiar with that program. We have people working in our faculty that are working on food security. I particularly have been working more on the food safety side of things globally, and particularly in developing countries. That's where a lot of my focus has been, in food safety. But we do have folks looking at food security both in the United States, but more broadly in India, Southeast Asia, and also in Africa and Central Africa. So I hope through our efforts to engage more internationally that we'll be involved in this particular program.
Awesome. And then our last audience question of the night: who has more bow ties, you or President Gee?
Well, I'm trying to get more than him. He had a head start on me. I didn't start bow ties until about 12 years ago. He started them a few years before that, I think. I think he has 1,000 in rotation, and I only have like 100 in rotation. So I'm getting there, but I don't think Daniels in Morgantown has enough that we could, because I might be competing with him, and the price might go way up because I'd be competing with him. But I'm gonna keep one on that every time. Every time you see me, I'll have one on, just like he does. I've enjoyed them. I've enjoyed every comments that he makes about mine, and I make about his. It's been fun.
Well, I'm excited to watch this play out. So we are out of time for questions, Darrell. But before we say goodbye to everyone tonight, could you tell us some of the best ways that people can stay connected with the Davis College moving forward?
Yes, we're on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and all those places. You could get on our website, which I know seems old natured now that we have everything else, but our website gets updated daily. And certainly you can find me on there and email me and call me. And I really appreciate, Meredith, I appreciate the Alumni Association willingness to bring me on, since I'm the new kid on the block, maybe not because of my hair, but I'm the new kid on the block, and I appreciate you inviting me to come and be a part of this evening.
Well, we can't thank you enough for giving us some of your time and sharing your perspectives about your life and what led you here to WVU, and what is so important about your work in the Davis College. So thank you, and I hope that this is only the first of many conversations that we have with you.
I hope so too. Let's go Mountaineers.
Let's go. See you, Darrell. Thank you. Yeah. So to those of you who have joined us at home tonight, we thank you for spending your evening with the Mountaineer family, and we hope you'll consider becoming members of the WVU Alumni Association if you haven't already. Our next segment in the WVU Alumni webinar series will take place on February 17th, featuring 2 prior Mountaineer mascots in a special event called Life in the Buckskins. We hope to see you all there. Have a good night.